It's mid-October 2025. Andy Heslop and I are travelling up to Kinlochbervie, but we're staying the night at Carbridge. This will allow us to have a look at Carbridge, a bridge that was almost washed away in the floods in the 19th century. Looks like a packhorse bridge. From Carbridge it's only a 3.5 hour drive to Kinlochbervie, so we had plenty of opportunities to stop on the way. And this is Rogie Falls. Quite a bit of the route forms part of the North Coast 500, and you get the joy of driving on that road as well. This canyon leads up to the Wailing Widow waterfall, which, as you can see, is quite an impressive sight. The drop is 50 feet, which is 7 feet less than my jump at Dorothea Quarry. And the drone shows the precarious position of this waterfall, just at the edge of a lake. Some of Andy Heslop's photographs showing the landscape around here. It's stunning, if a bit barren. We also had a nice early morning sighting of a stag just by the side of the road. And here we are at our accommodation in a little hamlet of Shegra. It's a 5-bedroom bungalow. The next morning finds us all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to start our diving. We're diving with Chris and Kathy Hollingdale off their boat Wildcard, which takes 8 divers. And here we are, we're all members of North Sea Divers. The trip was organised by Andy Heslop, and Chris and Kathy's organisation is called Dive Kinlochbervie. We did 8 dives over 4 days, but I've strung them all together into 2 days diving. Today we're diving off Shegra. We're going to do the arch first, and then in our next dive we'll do the tunnel. Kathy will guide us to it. And here is Kathy doing a little bit of macro photography. The visibility wasn't quite as good as in summer, but still pretty damn good. Kathy's been joined by Dr. Mike Jones, and here are some of his photographs. I must say they're stunning. Butterfish, goby of some type perhaps, scorpionfish, another scorpionfish, a wee spiny spider crab, and what can only be described as an underwater praying mantis. I'm afraid the best I can do is it's a sea slug. Lenny, gorgeous spiny squat lobster, and then a ling. Lots of ling on this dive. Another goby. Female dragonet perhaps. Very immature goby. Julie and Joe with their rebreathers. We'd been swimming down a surge gully, but then Kathy disappeared off to the left towards the tunnel, so I ran after Julie, who was swimming ahead. There are some very impressive clefts / caves / tunnels in these rocks. Quite spooky in some respects. This is elephant ear sponge. I can attest to the fact that it feels just like elephant's trunk. These photographs have been taken by James Hartley and Jay Lawson, I think. Nice sponges. Showing one of the walls. Crayfish and a better view. And now we're back on the video. There was a bit of a queue going through the tunnel the first time, so Andy Heslop and I returned on our own. I've speeded it up 5 times just to give you an idea of quite how long the tunnel is. Dived here in summer and there were lots and lots of Julian anemones, but I think the storms have done for them. Another nice ling. The fastest starfish that you get round here. A sunstar, you see them everywhere, but they are quite pretty. And a cushion star. A beautiful example of a crayfish. There were lots of crayfish on our dives. Obviously doing well up here. Not quite sure what this is. It's a sea scorpion of some type. Quite large. Because the dive sites are relatively close to the harbour, we often finish and get off the boat at about 2:30. Andy and I went to the pub, but James and Jay decided that they would stay on at the harbour and do a night dive, or a late evening dive. Kinlochbervie is not awash with eating establishments, so we self-catered. We were going to retire to bed when we suddenly realised that the Northern Lights were on display. This is my best photograph of the Northern Lights, a green tinge. Fortunately, others were more successful. This is a series of photographs taken by Andy Heslop. This is the first time that I've ever seen the Northern Lights. The following day I got up early so that I could fly my drone over the mountain to pick up the sunrise. As you can see, we had excellent sea conditions, and this allowed us to spot quite a few animals, including 2 sightings of porpoises, 2 sightings of sea eagles, and finally a minke whale. Starting this selection of dives at a place called Minister's Point, a surge gully with the wreckage of an old fishing boat. It bumbles along at 6 to 7 metres, and you think it's a relatively straightforward dive, but then after you go over a large chockstone, it drops to about 22 metres via a cleft. Here is Joe finding out that it's very difficult to fit through the cleft when you're laden with rebreather paraphernalia. Andy Heslop following him down, and here I am. I had terrible trouble clearing my ears on the way down, which is always a problem when you go shallow and then try to go deep again. As you go deeper, the cleft opens out into a cavern, which you can gently swim out of, and you're picked up on the other side by the boat. Another lovely crayfish. We saw plenty. Another ling. It's actually sitting on a Norwegian topknot. Plenty of saithe on this dive, and of course you get the baleen wrasse. Before coming to Kinlochbervie, I'd only seen 1 crayfish in my entire 1000 dive career. Nice little spiny squat lobster and a leopard goby, edible crab. I think we'll have to call this fella Nosferatu. Difficult to make out, but I think this is a tadpole fish. And now we're heading off onto the clear white sand, where we might get some sightings of sand eels. They were being hunted by saithe or pollock, but I didn't get any good footage of the hunting because the viz wasn't quite good enough. I had to look this up. It's a sea potato or heart urchin. And Andy bagging off again. Poor fella had to bag off on every dive because I was doing the filming. Thank you very much, Andy, for organising an excellent long weekend. If you're interested in this kind of diving, Dive Kinlochbervie or Dive KLB has a lovely Facebook page with lots of macro photography.